In the immense blue of the Pacific, the many atolls of the Marshall Islands form an underwater world bristling with life. From the tiniest organisms, corals and fishes, to oceanic giants. This country spans nearly 1 million square miles, most of it open ocean.
I wouldn't call us a small island country. I'd call us a big ocean country. 85 to 90% ocean, and just the rest of that is land.
The resources are abundant, and managing them is central to the people, the culture, and the economy of the country.
Tuna is one of the major drivers, economic drivers for the Marshall Islands. It makes up half of the global catch for skipjack and yellowfin and bigeye and others. It has to be sustainable. We've been participating in the international organizations such as the Western Central Pacific Fisheries Commission. And the outcome of it is that the tuna stock in the region is one of the most sustainable tuna stocks in the global arena. Special tool that we deploy, so we do 100% of that, and we have observers that does that. See over there, that's a snapshot of where the fisheries is. So you'll see Kiribati zone, hot potato right now. What's coming in, what's in, and what's going out. My name is Glenn Joseph, and I'm the director of the Marshall Islands Marine Resources Authority, otherwise known as MIMRA. MIMRA is the authority vested by the Constitution and by the people and the government to manage, develop the marine resources of the Marshall Islands.
The people of the Marshall Islands, we depend on the ocean. It is our home. It provides a lot of resources for us. And, a healthy ocean would mean a healthy population. It would mean nutritious food for the children of the Marshall Islands. And a healthy ocean would mean, our future generation, that they get to see and experience that.
So the Raymond process is a really cool toolkit that our team came up with. And it's a framework for us to use to help our local communities better manage their ecosystem, not only the marine ecosystem, but also land-based ecosystems.
The Raymond look in Marshallese basically means looking to the future. And so that's exactly what we want to do, to look into the future and see what we, ought to preserve. Pristine Seas is in the Marshall Islands because we invited them.
We are here to support a local conservation vision called Raymond Lock, where local communities and government work together to decide how to manage their marine resources and what areas to protect, so they can continue enjoying them for generations to come.
National Geographic's Pristine Seas is dedicated to the preservation of the world's oceans. In collaboration with local communities and governments, its team of scientists, policy experts, and filmmakers use the latest technology, traveling the globe collecting data to better understand what the oceans need to thrive.
It depends on the tide. If it's high tide, you can go directly to the beach, but if it's low tide here somewhere.
Our expedition is taking us on this large loop into the northern Marshall Islands, into an area that really not many people have been before. Our first stop is Utrecht, and from there we're moving north a few days sail up to two islands, Bikar and Bokak, and that's the main target of our expedition. From there we start the loop, we head west, and we head to kind of an iconic spot, Bikini Atoll, the site of much nuclear testing by the US government in the 40s and 50s. So we're gonna spend a week or so there sampling, trying to look at what is the legacy of that nuclear testing. So we have everything from fish experts to coral experts to marine algae experts to marine invertebrate experts. And then of course we have our local partners. They know the waters, they've been working here, they understand how things work, and they help us understand where to go, what's important, what we should be looking at.
We're going to Bikar and Bokak atolls, and before going there, it's customary for us to visit the people that own the islands, show our respect, so that they can bless us on our way there.
It may seem hard to imagine now, but for millennia, people travelled to the other islands by canoe or small boats under sail. Finding your way took incredible skill, and tradition held that without the local chief's blessing, you would become lost in the vastness of the sea.
It's always exciting to meet local communities because they live here. It's their waters. They have stewarded these waters for many generations, and we have a lot to learn from them. But also, it is important for us to pay our respects and get that traditional permission to do research in their waters.
For most, the ocean is only a short walk away. This connection runs deep.
Kajilo yengo yetto eor chitabuar. Eno batui monogar rai. Marangan perit peram elang ere Kaya kamil biram rit kamana wajan. Barang tabar katabaran mejij katagar.
If this was back then, maybe if you believe in superstitions, maybe you won't find the island. But nowadays there's a lot of technologies. We would have found them, but then I wouldn't feel safe if I was going on the trip. If they hadn't given us the permission.
The team travels due north, 71 nautical miles to the first survey site, Bakar Atoll. Bakar is one of the smallest atolls in the country, a near-perfect ring of coral stretching only 8 miles north to south.
Bakar is one of these classic remote uninhabited atolls. You pull up there, you have this vast blue ocean, and then this little atoll that just pops up. It's like an oasis in the middle of nowhere.
When I see Bakar, I'd say that it has all the colors that life has to offer to a healthy environment. It doesn't get better than that.
In Bakar, we have seen something that we'd never seen before. At high tide, the lagoon is full of water, but when the tide falls outside, the sea level is lower than the water in the lagoon. So we have these perched lagoons. And what happens? You have water that is 1 meter above sea level. Water rushes out like a waterfall, like a river.
Bakar is dotted with small islands emerging from the reef flats. Lush with native trees, each island a vital part of a larger, intricate ecosystem.
So this is a Pisonia forest called Caña by the Marshallese people. Pisonia is a tree that is able to survive in these conditions of bad soil and everything because it's able to create its own soil that is a mixture of roots, sand, and guano from the birds. There are only left in places that have never been inhabited. Pisonia trees need this kind of habitat that has been built here by millions and millions of years, probably.
Seabirds play a crucial role in nutrient cycling as they forage and bring back food for their young. Their guano fertilizes the ground, giving nourishment to the trees and helps build more topsoil. Nutrients from the forest floor find their way back to the ocean and to the many fishes and corals that depend on them. Bakar as with other islands in the Ratok chain, offers safe harbour to one of the ocean's greatest ambassadors.
One of the things we're doing here at BCAR is trying to assess how much use this little island gets from the sea turtles in the area. So there's 3 species here: greens, olive ridleys, and hawksbills. So we're doing a couple things. One is looking at how many crawls or tracks there are around, and secondly, trying to get a count of nests.
A study done in 1988 estimated that up to 500 turtles nest here. Today, the team finds just over 170 crawls, a sign that turtles are facing significant threats.
The story of sea turtles is very idyllic and it's really cool and beautiful, but the reality is most of them don't make it. I mean, they're still not super hard-shelled when they come out. They're confused, and they're just epic meals for any predator. First, they have to get through land, which is covered in seabirds, covered in coconut crabs and hermit crabs. If they make it past those to the water, immediately the predatory fish, especially sharks, are around to eat them. They're not good swimmers yet.
Only 1 in 1,000 of these turtles will make it to adulthood. And given a healthy ocean, these odds would still allow the species to thrive. BCAR's pristine shores are needed now more than ever to help these animals survive.
So our first day at BCAR, we don't know what to expect. There hasn't been much research done here. We've got a lot of anticipation. The place is remote. We're hoping to see lots of amazing things, but you never know until you get in the water.
We spent years preparing this expedition. It takes so much preparation. We get there, finally. You know that very few people have actually seen the underwater world of BCAR. We get on our small boats, jump in the water, and as soon as we look down, my God.
everything is just amazing. The diversity of the coral reefs to the biomass of different species of fish. It's a gem. To be able to go there and experience that, it's a blessing for me.
The team's first task is to establish a baseline of the reef. They sample, measure, and survey Bakar's many different species. This takes the pulse of the reef and provides a reference point to track any changes in the future. Invaluable data that will help define the uniqueness of these remote islands. But what really stands out here? The extraordinary number of apex predators, especially sharks.
Anytime you jump in the water and see lots of sharks, giant groupers, big schools of snappers, and healthy reef, it's a special place.
This is one of these rare places where we can still see coral reefs as they used to be. There are very few places like this left on the planet. So it absolutely deserves full protection.
After 6 days of surveying Bakar, we head to the most northern atoll in the Marshall Islands, Bokak, nearly 900 nautical miles from the capital of Madro. A much larger island than Bakar, this survey will take extra care and planning.
This is like 14 kilometers, just this one.
Yeah. We've never been to this island nor these two.
So it's probably easier just to start here.
There's this large ribbon reef. This will have a lot of giant clams, a lot of hippopus. We also thought we saw about 5 or 6 bump-fed parrotfish.
Right.
So they might be in this general area.
Which aren't reported elsewhere from the Marshall Islands, except for maybe a rare sighting at Bikar.
We have photos from them from Bikar, but these are the only 2 atolls where we know they are persisting.
We have a full 7 days of work here for the dive team, 2 to 3 days on the leeward side, a day on each side of the windward, and then a couple days inside. And so we'll just work with the weather and watch how the wind moves, and the night before we'll decide which target we'll hit.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Game on.
Is that a plan?
That's a plan.
All right.
You got a plan.
Bokak rises only a few feet above sea level, but this small difference has a huge impact on the reef that surrounds this 30 square mile lagoon.
Lagoon passes on coral atolls tend to be the most productive area. There's an exchange of water, lots of nutrients, lots of movement, a lot of marine life.
Tide's going out, a bit of a river going on right now. This is real exploration, folks.
The drop-offs below these powerful tidal rivers make an excellent first target for the team.
We're in Bokak Atoll. Gonna knock out our first dive. It's uncharted waters, uncharted area. It's gonna be a lot of life there.
So yeah, we're excited to get in the water and see what this place looks like. We have pretty high expectations.
Expecting a lot of sharks, a lot of nice coral. We have a lot to explore and a lot to find out about this atoll, so really excited.
When you jump down the water, when you're diving in common areas where local people are, like the fish and the shark, they see a human, they just run away. And when you jump in the waters of Boca, they're up close to see you. They're like, what the hell are you doing in my backyard? That's how intense these are, and they're just like swarming you. And that's how a marine ecosystem should look like.
As soon as we got in the water, we understood why our friends from the Marshall Islands said that Bukak is even better than Bikar. We saw this wall of sharks.
Here, sharks thrive in numbers that surpass any other known location worldwide. Together with the reef's other predators, they form an all too rare phenomenon.
Bukak is an example of what we call the inverted biomass pyramid, which means biomass, how many tons of fish per square kilometer. In school, we were taught that you have large biomass of herbivores, a smaller biomass of carnivores, and a smaller biomass of top predators. It's a pyramid, but we were wrong. In pristine coral reefs, the biomass pyramid is inverted, where the top predators have more biomass than all the prey combined. This is like having more lions than wildebeest in the African savanna.
These predators are cropping the sick, the weak, some of the older species. So everything's turning over at a much faster rate at the lower portion of the food chain. And that actually builds resilience because the system's operating just more efficiently than it would otherwise. Once you remove those predators from the system, it becomes much more sluggish and inefficient. Becomes more of a couch potato system where everything's just kind of fat and happy and laying around because they don't have to worry about being eaten. Having that presence of the predators there just puts the fear into all the animals and they respond accordingly.
The team is witness to an amazing display: sharks mating. Living proof that these waters allow sharks to live out their life cycles freely, far removed from human interference.
I have never seen so many sharks in my life. I've been diving for 35 years, been in the most remote places in the ocean. This is the wildest place I've dived in my life. It's absolutely extraordinary. I have trouble trying to describe it. It's unbelievable. ¿Qué cantidad de tiburones?
For hunting, and it came out like rocket.
And you know, and at no moment you feel that the sharks are going to do anything, right? They are so calm and gentle, just swimming around. They come really close to you, they check you out, and it's like diving with puppies. I don't know if puppies dive, but with aquariums with goldfish.
It's almost like fold into two, you know.
You see turtles and sharks and rays. I thought I've seen biodiversity, but that was extreme biodiversity.
Sharks are not the only species here to thrive in great numbers.
Bicara had a lot of clams, but when you go to Boga, it's a clam haven. When I look at the structure of their shells, some of these clams have been there for like years, many years.
There are like 20, 30, 40 per square meter in some places.
You see like purple and blue and these plasmatic colors are just wild. They are very important. Giant clams are considered one of the most endangered species around the world. They've also been a symbol for us Marshallese people. They've been a source of food security for us. So to see the biomass, the amount, is very important because that's where our stock is. If we ever run out of clams in the Marshall Islands, it would be nice to go up there and bring some and then just spawn and, you know, distribute it amongst our reefs.
These clams can grow up to 4 feet long and can live upwards of 100 years. But it's their population count that's key to their success.
They have a certain type of reproductive strategy that requires a lot of individuals to be in one place to have successful reproduction. So once you thin them out enough that the population densities are low, it's really hard for them to recover. Seeing these large populations of these giant clams at Bokak was pretty beautiful.
Today, the Weather Service announced a system is forming in the Pacific that one NASA climatologist called a Godzilla El Nino.
Rising water temperatures in the Pacific Ocean are fueling one of the strongest El Nino.
NOAA believes that 5% of the world's coral could be lost this year. Next year is predicted to be even worse.
We are on the northern side of Bokak Atoll, a place where usually it's very difficult to access because of the trade winds blowing steady. But today we have a calm day, so that's our chance. From the surface, we saw the most extraordinary reef I've seen in my life, with huge elkhorn corals and table corals forming a forest with a three-dimensional structure so complex, so intricate. And I thought, oh my God, this is the most amazing reef I have ever seen in my life. Then we saw the impact of global warming. As we got closer to the corals, we realized that they were all dead. Decimated, turned into a graveyard of dead skeletons. It was the worst part of the expedition. Now, the good news is that those dead skeletons were covered with thousands of baby corals.
One of the worst El Niños on record had a devastating effect. But this reef is able to grow back.
Bicar and Bocac are so healthy because there are no human threats affecting those coral reefs. The only threat is ocean warming, which will change the reef, will change the corals. But the lack of fishing means that lots of parrotfish that eat seaweed, that tries to grow over dead coral skeletons, that clean skeleton is the perfect substrate for baby corals to colonize and for the reef to come back. So we need the fish for the corals to come back. The reef of the future is going to be different from the reef of the past. Probably will not have these massive corals that needs hundreds of years to grow, because the more frequent heat waves will kill some of them, they'll have to come back, so the size of the corals is probably going to be smaller. But if they are coming back in earnest, like they are coming back at Bocac, we will still have a coral reef there.
Like Bicar, Bocac's ecosystems all work together. Its total landmass is just over 1 square mile, but its presence is huge. All plants here are native to the Marshall Islands, and the atoll is entirely free of any invasive species. Not even the omnipresent coconut tree has been able to find purchase here. Seabirds number in the hundreds of thousands, more than 10 to 1 than those on Bicar to the south.
In Bocac in particular is this really interesting semi-arid vegetation ecosystems. So we see kind of almost like a savanna where we have grasslands intermixed with Tunifordia, Scaevola, and a bunch of different species which the birds love.
Species like the red-footed booby, great frigate bird, and sooty tern will travel up to 450 miles, forming a giant circle that includes Bicar, Utrik, Rongerik, all the way to the outlying waters of Bikini Atoll.
cute are those three in the middle that are just like one small one, one big?
It's like a rest right there. Birds are a really good indication of how healthy an island ecosystem is. Obviously, they need something to eat, so they need the surrounding waters to be healthy, and often they actually rely on big predatory fish and sharks to push their food fish up to the surface, and so you don't really see them in areas that don't have healthy offshore ecosystems.
They forage and deposit nutrients over a massive range, and none of it would be possible without the sanctuary of places like Beaucoq to roost and raise their young. Unfortunately, one thing that seems to travel everywhere on this planet is plastic. Even this most distant place is not free of it.
We're seeing a lot of plastic washed up on the shores of these islands. Buoys, we see a lot of flip-flops and shoes and things, but those big items aren't really what impacts the seabird communities. It's once they break down and turn into microplastics, and then the seabirds will pick them up and then they're dying before they're even fledged because their stomachs are too full of plastic that they can't actually get nutrition from their food.
Over the remaining week, the team continues their survey using the latest cutting-edge technology to collect reams of data about Beaucoq's many layers of life.
All these organisms underwater shed their cells, and there's actually DNA in that, and we can capture that in the water. So I'm filtering that out so that we can take it to the lab and see what we have.
This technology, the submarine, it's a game changer. We've never been down here. Nothing has ever been recorded. You know, to be able to come down here to see it with our own eyes, this information will be collected and presented to the government, the people, and the traditional leaders of the Marshall Islands.
What they find is a place to behold. Bakar and Beaucoq have the highest coral cover in the Central and Western Pacific Ocean, the most nesting turtle sites in all the Marshall Islands, and its largest population of seabirds. Together, these islands comprise the greatest reef fish biomass in the Pacific, with an abundance of vulnerable species like Napoleon wrasse and groupers, rays and sharks in greater numbers than the team ever expected.
We have data to show that Beaucoq is one of the sharkiest places on the planet. It's really unlike anything else out there.
And a new deep-sea fish still undescribed by science.
A lot of what we're doing with using the deep sea cameras is filling big gaps in information. We don't know what's down there. We don't have any information. These cameras are adding a whole new area of knowledge. When you get like one of these every like 10 drops, you get excited. And here we're seeing 2 in the frame with a chimera in the back. It was very lively down there. Yeah.
One of Bokok's biggest surprises is right in the shallows.
We go to the channel this one afternoon, and we see a bumphead parrotfish. A single bumphead parrotfish can make over 5 tons of sand a year, and they just cruise along the reef, just chomping away at bits and pieces of it, and then spewing out through their excrement sand. They generate a ton of sand. They're really important biorotors. They've been completely removed from the Marshall Islands. So we all get really excited, and we follow it around. And then we see 2, and we see 3, and then we see 10 and 20. Got to the point where there were 70 or 80 of them all together.
You know, the stories of the bumphead parrotfish, you know, they come from word of mouth from our senior citizens. And to experience that, especially a person from my generation, is something special. And to know that we still have him here gives us a little piece of hope.
That was incredible. They always change color. You know how they got the white in their head?
We went with the boat and we say
Just looking around, seeing all these huge animals was pretty incredible.
We still have little gems like this. It's really hopeful. It's really important.
That's what, this is one of the most important scientific data that we'll have in the report.
Bokok is off the charts.
We'd been to places with a lot of sharks, a lot of fish, and we thought that we had a pretty good baseline of what a pristine coral reef looks like. But Bokok reset our baseline. And we know that places that are remote, that are, in this case, protected by distance, places where the ocean is given space and time, the ability of the ocean to bounce back, the productivity of the ocean is more extraordinary than what we can imagine.
There are few places that can illustrate this planet's struggle to heal itself more than the team's next destination. The expedition heads 320 nautical miles northwest to Bikini Atoll.
So I wanted to have a discussion about what we're going to do at Bikini because we are arriving there tomorrow. It would be very beneficial to look at how Bikini Atoll has recovered since the nuclear tests and compare it with Rongerik Atoll, which is nearby, also has been uninhabited since the 40s, and then also it's unfished, but it was not bombed. So that's the reference nearby. Right? So that was the idea of coming to Bikini Atoll, to assess the resilience of the reefs from the most extreme disturbance that a reef could possibly have. So what happened here?
The tragic legacy of Bikini must never be forgotten. Between 1946 and 1958, the United States performed 23 nuclear tests on Bikini, 20 of them hydrogen bombs. The Castle Bravo test on March 1st, 1954 was the most powerful thermonuclear device the United States has ever deployed. These tests forever changed the lives of countless Marshallese people and profoundly altered the landscape of what used to be their home.
So Bikini Atoll is it's considered one of the largest atolls in the Marshall Islands. Used to be a community of good people. They used to thrive in their island, the other islands. But now it's when you go there, it's a ghost town. There's nobody living in Bikini right now.
The American military took photographs of Bikini Atoll in 1945, before the first atomic bombs were exploded here. And here where we are, there used to be 3 islands. Now there is only part of one of those islands. The first hydrogen bomb destroyed those islands and the reef below. It's hard to be here in this place that is this peaceful tropical paradise, but it's empty. There are no people here, and there is an eerie feeling about it.
But unlike any previous study done before, they will crew a submersible, allowing them to see firsthand the very bottom of ground zero. A 2,000-meter wide, 78-meter deep crater left by the blast.
Well, today for the first time ever, we're gonna do a sub dive to Castle Bravo, where a hydrogen bomb has been exploded.
We are going to be the first ever people to dive with a submarine to the bottom of the crater.
We decided, and Avi and myself will go together. We will estimate and evaluate as we go down to mitigate the risk.
We're not sure, we have a bit of anxiety, and so we'll go there and see what we find. Be a bit careful the way we run here. The sonar shows absolutely nothing. 5 meters from the bottom, you can't see anything. No visibility, 0 visibility, just white snow. You see the bottom? Yeah, it looks like a footstep of someone. The bottom could be seen just from 1 meter above it, which is very, very unusual. I don't think we ever dove in such visibility. So it's kind of eerie. So arid and so empty. This is nothing like we've seen before. We've been diving for 20-some years with this submersible, and this is probably the most unique dive we ever made, having nothing, really.
It's very difficult to think about the power of destruction that went into this place, and the results are a complete death zone. We couldn't find any sign of life, and this is something that any natural cause would have been recovered or would have been improved over 70 years of time, and that's not happening here.
Normally, tides and ocean currents flush out sediment with a constant exchange of water. But this talc-like powder, the remnants of what was once coral and rock, remains trapped in a topography forever altered by the blast. The dive team finds the shallows of the crater to be much the same: rubble and dust, a surface still not suitable for life. The water itself, nor sediment on the surface, is radioactive enough to cause harm during these short dives. But core samples just 25 centimetre deep, taken with ROVs in 2018, showed that radiation is still at dangerous levels, as is the island's groundwater and few remaining structures. But out of the ashes on the surrounding reefs, there are signs of hope.
At the bottom of the crater, there is nothing. There is a cloud of marine snow. But as you get close to the edge of the reef, marine life has come back. We saw places with large coral colonies. And when you have the corals and the structure, then you had the fish. And then we saw sharks, schools of snappers and other fish, which shows that life is resilient, even in the place that has suffered the most horrible destruction.
Prior to the nuclear test, researchers from the Smithsonian Institute traversed Bikini's islands, conducting detailed surveys. Today, the team can retrace those original traverses, but with modern technology and expertise.
Bikini Atoll, we've had the opportunity to redo these reef traverses that scientists did in 1946.
Here we are, more than 60 years later. We're really excited to see what we're going to find.
You're going to see a lot of this one. This is Paredes lobata. So this is a small little colony. I'll do some sizes, but these colonies can grow to be over like 200 feet large and be like hundreds of years old.
Right now we're standing on the new edge of the island here. This is not where the edge of the island used to be. That is way off in what is now the water.
So we would walk all the way to the end, like to the crest, and then you survey like 5 to 10 meters around you within that transect. It's a good experience. When we compared the data, it was almost identical to the ones we did back in 46. But there were some species that we couldn't find that they had in their traverses, and there were some new species we found in ours.
Without these historical comparisons, we would have never thought of walking and swimming over these flats and those reefs in the shallows. And we have discovered these wonderful places with so many corals, extraordinary landscapes.
Yeah, with your measurement tool. 30 centimeters. 30, 60, 90.
The drones allow us to take high-resolution photos and stitch them all together into a photo mosaic that would allow us to then later, with very high precision, estimate what is the size of each of the coral colonies all throughout the traverse, which would take our team of scientists a much, much longer time. So we can do this post hoc back when we are on land on our computers.
These aerial traverses provide an accessible record of Bikini's progress to date and will become invaluable to future surveys, allowing the Marshall Islands to track any changes. It's with bitter irony that Bikini is the place that gives us so much hope for the future of our oceans.
The bombing is once in a space and time, and after that, the ecosystems will for sure recover. Of course, there is still radioactivity. Of course, it will take time. But once you let nature do its thing without humans, for sure, it will recover.
But the planet is quickly running out of places like Bangkok, Bakar, and Rongerik, the final stop of the expedition.
The reef ecosystems are super important to the Marshallese culture. They provide homes to a marine wildlife, which is what we live off of. It's a part of our culture and history. It brings out who we really are as Marshallese people. It's something we enjoy in our daily lives.
Being Marshallese is something that's very rare. I'm proud that we are unique and we come from a lineage of navigators and people of the sea. And to be Marshallese and to be one of the people that's going out to study and to collect data on the marine environment for the Marshall Islands is something that I take pride of. The work we do, like a lot of these researchers and marine biologists, they call it science and they call it marine biology. I just call that my identity. It's embedded in me as a Marshallese person. I was born for this.
Large marine reserves in other parts of the Pacific have shown that when protected, these places are a source, an engine of replenishment for the waters around. The fishing fleets catch more fish than before around these protected areas. Selling fishing access to their waters is one of the most important sources of revenue and employment for the Marshall Islands. So the tuna are not just a source of food, they are not a species of cultural importance, but also they are an economic pillar of the nation.
For the Marshall Islands and the Marshallese, we gotta be looking down the road and ask our question, where do we want to be in, say, 20 years' time? We want to be at home. We want to be able to go and fish and catch the fish that we've enjoyed today, well into the future.